The Queen is Dead. By Meep the Changeling. Chapter 25. Magic Lessons. David, 23th of Plantation 15 EOH, afternoon. It took a lot out of me, learning my entire worldview was wrong. I'd given up on there being a god during the war. I'd figured that no god would allow something like that to happen unless they were an evil bastard. Then I'd decided if God was an evil bastard, it would be best to just not believe in one. Why? Because it would be better for there to be no god than an evil one. Turns out I was wrong. That's fine, I can admit that. I do however reserve the rights to be pissed that the real actual gods, plural mind you, didn't think they should step in and stop the worst war in human history. I'd grilled Dusk about that after she got back from the bar with Lily. Apparently she's the only one who gives a flying fuck about us bacteria, as her fellow deities call mortal kind. Since war is her dad's thing and ending life is he brother's thing, it turns out that the whole war was apparently the godly equivalent of a father-son bonding moment, and nothing she tried did a damn thing to convince them to stop making that conflict started by a displaced pony worse and worse. But, at least everyone who fought and died gets to share an afterlife with their squad. So I guess Dusk really did do all she could. She told me the rules that restrict her, and they're pretty airtight. Gods are like computers apparently. If something is another god's domain, they literally need its permission to do things in it or they simply can't. Their powers just won't work. Dusk admittedly has found a few ways to break some specific rules in certain circumstances, but those opportunities are sadly rare. I did like it when she said if she did have control over when mortals died, that evil people would just be stillborn. She meant it too. At least one of however many deities out there cares and is a good person. Well, sort of a good person. She did get like 50 pounds of clothes that I'll be having to pull now. Lily might look more adorable than the god of adorable, whom I presume exists, in that little red dress. But as the cargo wagon puller, I reserve the right to complain about the suddenly added wardrobe. At least the weapons were gone now. That would lighten the load a lot. I'd gone back to the changeling's shop as asked. I'd still been working my way through everything. The whole deal had gone down on autopilot. If I had kept my head on straight, I would have probably wound up getting a better deal. That bug really liked a few of the pieces I had, especially a long sword I'd found in a cave. Apparently that was a 500-year-old blade. Ah well, Lightstride assured me we had enough bits for the train tickets, plus a little extra. Maybe it would be enough to get a meal or three in Equestria. We would need all the help we could get, especially since I had fucked up pretty badly. I'd shown the token that the dying swarm changeling had given me to the changeling running the shop. She pointed the way to a house in town, I'd followed it still on autopilot. I wound up giving the token to the bug's younger sister. I didn't know that changelings could cry in their normal forms. I wish I had been in the mind to convey more sympathy. Especially since apparently the mare hadn't thought her sister was in trouble. 3 was supposed to be attending a magic academy in France for the summer. She'd apparently gotten snatched up along the way. The Topaz Hive had a tradition: when one of their hive dies away from home, whomever brings the news back receives a gift in thanks for returning the news and any last words. My error was not waiting till I could think straight to deliver that token. After crying for an hour, the poor girl offered to create anything I wanted with her alchemy. The exact fuck-up was refusing a reward, and so she simply replicated an item she telepathically pulled from my memory, because apparently you don't just refuse the messenger's reward. As a result, I'd spent the day sitting on the bed in the hotel room waiting for Lily to shake off her hangover so I could ask her to teach me some more magic. I needed something to help us get an edge. I could have gotten a suit of armor, or a shield, or some magic charm. I could have gotten a map, or a compass, or literally anything of use. I'd gotten a copy of my old guitar. Admittedly, it was a magic copy of my old guitar that didn't need an amp. But it was still a motherfucking guitar. Somehow I'd made 2 major fuck-ups in my life, both of which were getting the same goddamn guitar. Maybe it's a curse or some shit like that. Still, it was nice to hold her again. Her rosewood neck, nickel pickups, and brushed silver lay Paul body were just like I remembered. The enchantment on her was pretty neat too, the knobs on her body worked like those on the amp. I could do just about any sound I wanted on her. Maybe when I got to Equestria I could make enough as a street performer to get an apartment and build my way up from there. I'd done it once before in a world where everyone was some level of jerkwad. It should be easier in a world populated by ponies. On the other hand, our lives were in serious danger and I'd gotten a motherfucking guitar. David, Lily asked, snapping me out of my thoughts, DOS lights are not stabbing my eyes now. Do you still want to talk? I quickly set my guitar against the wall. Yeah. We're going to have to make a run across desert with the swarm on our tails. Sure, I got boomstick and my knife, but Jade's useless in a fight, and light stride. Where is she? I asked, looking around in confusion. Oh, she went to book a train car. I'm sorry you're feeling useless. You're not, you're why we are still alive. Lily said, giving me a sincere and oddly affectionate look. That was a weird sort of look for a friend to give you. Met, she was coming off a hangover. I smiled for a small moment. I'm not feeling useless. Just under-equipped. My big weapon is too dangerous to use unless it's a last resort, and my other weapon is a big knife. I just don't have the right tools. Lily nodded slowly and stood up to lean atop the desk she had been doing her spell work on yesterday. I know. I can make basic shields and wards. I planned on making protection charms on the train ride. They will burn out after absorbing one hit, but if we each have 2 or 3, that may get us through. I gave her an impressed nod. Not bad, ear chain. I said, mentioning her newest piercing. Ear chain? Lily asked with a surprised head tilt, making the gold chain that ran loosely from her left ear tip to its base tilt down, putting 2 of the charm bracelet-like charms onto it into her field of view. Ebe! Lily exclaimed, eyes crossing as she tried to look at it. I laughed for a few long moments as she did her best to get a look at it. Don't worry, you silly pony. It looks good. Very you. I don't have any more, do I? She asked with a sigh. Not that I've seen. I answered. Maybe tell Dusk no more though, it would make you start to look trashy. Lily sighed. She shuffled her hooves nervously and looked up at me with hopeful eyes. It really looks cute. I nodded slowly. Yes. Honestly, it completes your. You're going for impossible to not hug, right? The strawberry blush that spread across her cheeks indicated I was right, and reminded me of a question no pony could answer in Stalingrad. Quick side question, how do you blush with fur? I asked seriously. Oh. Lily perked up instantly, an excited expression forming on. Oh hell. I'd asked the biomancer a biology question. Lily took a deep breath and quickly rattled off. Pony fur is less like normal mammal fur and more like super fine, super soft, super silky chameleon scales. Early ponies and pony ancestors had a defense mechanism which consisted of chromatophoric cells in their fur which allowed them to change color in order to camouflage themselves into any background. We've evolved away that trait because whatever our primary predator was, it died out. We can't camo anymore, but our fur still contains those cells. That's why we can have such vivid colors. DOS cells still respond to our emotions somewhat, so a pony can appear more saturated in color when extra happy, or more gray when sad. Changes in the skin also affect the fur color, so that's why blushes and bruises show up on our fur. The cells in each strand transmit the skin color beneath along their length. That's actually pretty cool. I said honestly, wishing that I was free to talk more about a pretty interesting aspect of a rather unique species. But still, I had an important question. Back to the topic at hand. You mean at hoof? Lily asked in mock confusion. I gave her a glare. I want to know if you can teach me a few spells. Lily nodded and shuffled the papers on her desk around for a short moment. I could teach you some spells. But not in 3 days. Got verdammt. I don't want to sound racist, but you're not a unicorn. Anyone can learn magic, but it's very hard. Unicorns just, where get it? I rolled my eyes and gave the silly pony a mane tussle. Kid, it's not racist if there really is a difference. Was jetst? Lily asked, giving me a concerned blink. Unicorns are naturally able to do magic. Dogs aren't. No shit, unicorns will pick it up more quickly. I explained. It's true, so it's not racist, it's just fact. It still sounds bad to say though. Lily replied with a frown. I sighed and sat back on the bed, leaning up against the wall. The room's chairs were too small for me to sit anywhere else. So what? If objective facts offend you, you should change your point of view. It's like, look, my old people had a group of us known as Kenyans. They are fast, really fast, on average faster than anyone else. But if you said that, everyone would call you racist, even though it's true, and science has even shown the genetic differences that make them especially great runners. Don't be like those idiots. If something's true, say it. If it's false, call it out. There's no need for all the flowery skirting around everything. Just be honest, admit when you're wrong, and accept that you can be wrong about things. Now, bunny trail over, magic, what can we do to get me as far up to par as we can? Lily paused for a moment, looking like she was about to ask something, but then shook her head. I die grundlegenden Konzept der Zauberei erklären kann oops. Sorry. I mean, I could explain the basic concepts of sorcery to you. I know you can do a simple heat charm, maybe if you know how that works you can do a bit more with it. Oh. I could maybe also show you how to do telekinesis. But it would be very crude without learning proper wizardry. Wait, I asked with a frown, there's a difference between sorcery and wizardry. Lily nodded, Ihnen großen Unterschied. A huge difference, can you explain it? I asked irritably. Lily face-hooved, I forgot you speak German. How did I forget you speak German? Sie sind ein albern Pony. I teased, flashing her a grin. Lily cleared her throat and put on a bit of that distinct professory air. Sorcery is the simplest type of magic. It is simply the most basic way anything can interact with the thaumaturgic field. Subatomic particles interact with it all the time, that's how simple it is. She paused, frowning, I should explain the field. The field is an energy field which, as far as we can tell, exists everywhere in the universe. The field interacts with everything, all matter, and all energy including itself. When a quanta of energy or a particle of matter interacts with the field imparts properties to that energy or matter. A quark is a quark because the thaumaturgic field told it to be one. Lily explained, rubbing her chin in thought for a moment, are you with me so far? I nodded. Yeah, that's pretty understandable. Normally the field makes things work under what mages call natural physics, this is the default settings of the universe. Now interestingly, energy can interact with the field, it's not just one way, but two-way. Because of this, and the fact that biological processes use electricity, organisms with the ability to arrange energy in very specific ways can change what the field will do with the matter and energy nearby. It's very hard to make any of these changes, because the field has a lot of was ist ein gutes Wort Sie benutzen? Resistance to change. The field wants to stay the same, so you take a lot of energy to change things. Physical and mental energy. You may have noticed unicorns get sleepy after casting big spells, that's why. So your thoughts affect the field, but because you need to think in a very specific way for long enough time to affect the change, you get fatigued. I asked. Lily nodded and smiled, But it's the electrical patterns in your brain from the thought, not the thought itself. That's why even some plants have magical abilities. These patterns are very specific, which is why not everyone can or has learned magic, and even why some species don't have any magic. They simply don't think in a way which produces a pattern which interacts with the field. But you know a pattern already. That's simply how the one you know works. If you want it to work better, you need to put more energy into the pattern, which is best done by thinking less about what you want the magic to do, and focusing more on the thought behind your magic itself. Lily explained. What? I asked with a confused frown, but that seems backwards. Oh. Neen. Lily said quickly, you still think about directing the magic, but you want to focus mostly on maintaining the thought pattern. Splitting your attention to do this is a vital skill for any mage. Ah, I think I understand. Gut. Lily flashed me a smile. Now, that is all there is to sorcery. Using thought patterns to override the field's natural state so it changes something in the world in a way you want. Wizardry is different because it's sorcery and science. Sorcerer makes the fire in a campfire by thinking of a pattern they found that makes the fire and lights the logs. A wizard makes fire by thinking in a refined pattern which induces an exothermic reaction in the logs, resulting in fire. Wizardry is refined by knowledge of the world and how it works. It uses less energy and can do much more because unlike sorcery which brute forces the change, wizardry works with natural physics processes to change things. All right. Sorcery is a axe and wizardry is a scalpel. Makes sense. I said with a nod. How does this help me? It takes you a lot of effort to make heat, Ja. Lily asked rhetorically. You are doing it with sorcery. If I showed you the wizardry behind producing heat, it would be much easier for you to do, and you could do more with it because you would have more energy available to you. That's what I assumed. I mean more along the lines of, can you show me how now? I pointed out. She giggled, well yes, but also no. You can't show someone how to think in a certain way. But, do you know how heat is made? I nodded, yes, the atoms within a substance are moving more quickly the hotter something is. She paused and gave me an impressed look. I honestly didn't think you would know that. No offense meant. None taken. I chuckled, right, so instead of thinking about heat, I should think about making the atoms move faster or slower. Lily beamed me a huge grin, Ja. You got it. You realized that the same pattern for making heat can also make cold because cold is simply the absence of heat. That is wizardry. Well, it is once you actually do it with a spell. Till then it's just theoretical thaumaturgy. Wait, if the thought pattern aka spell I know can chill or heat things depending on how I apply it, can it do anything? Can I just think about atomic motion and push some photons off the atoms to make light? I asked curiously. Well, Neen. Where did you get your education? You don't know magic but you know natural physics. That's weird. Lily said with an odd frown. Well, my original species can't do magic as far as I know. We have to do everything the hard way, but we are damn good at it. A bit too damn good to be honest. Atom splitting and whatnot. I grunted. Was? What would splitting an atom apart do? Lily asked curiously, one ear perking up as she spoke. Release all of the energy stored in the. I instantly realized that this was a very bad idea to tell someone who could just do it with their brain instead of a few $1,000,000 worth of science stuff. Look, just don't do it, we use it as a very very deadly weapon of mass destruction. Moving right along, so spells are very specific then? My heat one will only speed up or slow down atomic motion and nothing else. Ja. Manipulating the field needs very precise energy patterns. Lily continued, looking distracted for a moment as I was sure she pondered splitting an atom. Way to go, brain! Shut up next time. Anyway, Lily continued, when written down a spell is generally an explanation of the natural physics involved, as well as a meditative focus to help you find out what pattern to use. These two parts together are called a spell matrix or spell for short. Learning a new one can take a very long time because simply mastering the pattern of thought to achieve the most basic of effects can take years for truly complex spells like teleportation. This really doesn't seem too hard, just time-consuming. I mused thoughtfully. Lily nodded and shrugged a bit. Well, sure it can be. But once you know DOS basics of a field of wizardry, you can absorb the rest easily and quickly. Or if you are lucky enough to be a unicorn and also have your special talent be that field of magic, you just sort of read it and know it. I asked with a curious head tilt. Neen, but close. I mastered biomancy's basics in a year and a half, faster than any pony I know of. But I'm still working on the advanced stuff after 5 years. It's a special talent, not a flank stamp of auto-win. She pointed out. Then with a frown admitted, unless you're Twilight Sparkle and get the talent of magic, all of it. I couldn't help but chuckle at the sudden flare of jealousy in Lily's eyes as she mentioned someone having that sort of help from their genetics, or however cutie marks worked. To cover up my chuckle, I quickly asked a question. So how come when I heat something up with a spell, it cools back down? If I'm instructing reality to make that thing hot, shouldn't it stay hot? Neen, Lily answered instantly, the world is in harmony, a balance between order and chaos. Over time, all things trend towards harmony. All magic is invoking chaos to alter the established world, and thus, after some time, it returns to a state of harmony. I frowned and looked over at my backpack. Why the hell didn't the spellbook I got say any of this? This is pretty useful. Well, you did get it in Stalingrad, Lily said, rolling her eyes. They are. I sighed, a long, irritable, lonely sigh. Behind the times. I know. Lily hummed a moment and picked my pack up with her magic and moved it over beside her, then took out the book in question. Oh. Her mouth pulled into a small grin. Never mind, this is French. They teach magical theory since kindergarten, so every pony there knows the basics. This is just a list of SPE. She turned to look at me, one eyebrow raised. You learned to cast by reading this? I nodded. Yeah. But it's just a spell list, she said, ears drooping. Yeah. I said with a grin, I figured you just focused hard and willed stuff to happen while thinking about the stuff the book said to. Hey, I was right. Neat. No. Lily said in a confused tone. It's written in French. Yeah. I thought that was weird too, but I speak French, I said, starting to give Lily a confused look. How many languages do you know? She asked curiously. Let's see, I started to count them off on my fingers: English, Equish, German, French, Japanese, Mandarin, Spanish, and well, Kenya if you want to also count constructed languages. Suddenly hit me. Hold it. How the flying fuck do you know French? I said French, not French. Lily said, looking at me and the book completely baffled. Wait. Is this like German and German? How many languages do our worlds share? I nodded, baffled, and creeped out. Yeah, that is pretty weird, even the names are similar. Then Lily's wording hit me like a ton of bricks. Hold it. You said world. J.A. Lily said, setting the book down. I'm not an idiot, I figured out you are from another world entirely after a few days. How? I demanded. I've been trying to keep that a secret for years. You talk in your sleep, Lily said with a light blush. Also, your aura is off. Auras are a unicorn thing. We can sense how things interact with the field. It's not very useful for more than knowing if something's magic or not, but it can tell you about the arcane properties of something. Yours doesn't have the normal diamond dog signature. It's unique as far as I know. Hence, you're an alien. Which is neat. My ears drooped in mild panic. Every unicorn I have ever encountered knows I'm not from this world. Lily giggled. Neen. It takes days around someone to be able to pick their aura out from the background. Everything has one. Das air, rocks, trees, everything made of matter. It's hard to pick one out and isolate it. I know yours, Jade's, and my old history professors, but no pone else's. The other auras I know are all microorganisms, and I use them to identify was while performing it's not important. You're fine, David. Thank God. I sighed in relief. Then I remembered that those were actually real things, and there was more than one. Or thank the gods rather. Assuming they established physics to work like that, thus preventing this scenario, I corrected with a frown. I realized that next chance I got I needed to ask Dusk exactly how the whole god thing worked. Just to be sure I wasn't pissing someone off. Lily nodded sagely. She said she would be over tonight to hang out. Something about wanting to avoid a party her brother was throwing. Anyways, you need to practice. Lily picked up a quill with her magic and floated it over to me. I picked it out of the air curiously and gave her a look. You want me to burn this quill? Neen. I want you to freeze it. You already know you can make heat, you need to understand you can remove heat too. Lily explained. I'm not sure I can do that. I said with a frown. You can. Lily said with a supportive smile. She climbed up onto the bed and sat down beside me. Okay, hold the quill out where you can see it. Be happy you're not a unicorn, we have to float it while we freeze it. Oh, this is a normal exercise for mages. I asked, happy to see something of mage culture for a change. Now, close your eyes and focus on the magic you use to heat. Lily said in a soothing tone. I nodded, closed my eyes, and let my mind drift to that special place the magic seemed to come from. It wasn't hard for me to find. That little part of the mind which seemed to smile whenever I played anything had been there since the first time I'd performed on the street. I know where it was, but not why it also served to let me do magic. Remembering Lily's advice, I focused on the thought of atoms slowing, and the quill freezing, but also tried to focus on the feeling of the magic itself. I felt my heartbeat speed up. It felt like I was lifting the back end of a truck. Then I felt something cool on my fingertips. Opening my eyes, I saw the quill was covered in a silvery coating of frost. It looked just like the lawn on the first day of winter at sunrise. Damn, I muttered to myself, turning the quill in my fingers as it glittered. Gut. Lily praised, now, warm it up. Then, we freeze it again, only quicker. Then heat again. We do this till you can snap freeze and snap thaw. I winced. This is going to take all day, isn't it? Maybe. Lily giggled, but you asked me to teach you spells. We start with mastering the one you know. Fair point. I conceded. Then I closed my eyes, and reached for the magic again. I had some training to do. Jade, 24th of Plantation 15 EOH, midnight. Nose, so, itchy.